What's up, everybody? It's your boy DQ here, and welcome to another interview installment of the Swank Arts and Entertainment interview series. We are rather excited about this interview because it's going to shed some light on the LGBTQIA plus community here in the Atlanta area, and one of the organizations that I think is just doing some phenomenal work within our community. And so before we get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also look us up on Instagram, Swank Arts ENT, down there on the scroll at the bottom, or on YouTube again, look up Swank Arts and Entertainment for more interviews and more platforms. Make sure you share it, like, subscribe, and set reminders to know when we are going to be on. But again, none other, I have one of my really good friends, Mr. AJ Totten-Reynolds, or Ashton. He is the operations director of He Is Valuable Incorporated, and we're going to bring him in and let's talk about what his organization does here in the Atlanta area and what they're going to do in the future, and an initiative on how you can help with the fundraiser they have coming up. And so none other than Mr. AJ Totten-Reynolds.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
No problem. We are so glad that you are here. I'm really excited about what He Is Valuable is doing in the community, and what the initiative that you guys have coming up in the fundraiser as well. And so let's just get it started. So for people who don't know who you are you?
So I'm AJ or Ashton, either one. I am a native of Houston, Texas. I've been here in Atlanta for over 15 years. I'll leave it there. Who am I? I'm, like you said, I'm the operations director of He Is Valuable Incorporated. I am a minister at the Vision Cathedral. I am just an all-around community advocate. And I'm a husband. I'm a pet parent. I'm a uncle. All kinds of things. But I'm a very involved person.
Okay. And so you've been in it. Does it feel like 15 years that you've been here in Atlanta?
Yes and no. So there are times where I'm like, wow, 15 years. Like, where did it go? And then there are times where I really reflect on all of the things I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it's been 15 years.
Well, you kind of sit back and like,
I had to fight.
right. And obviously you feel accomplished. You've done some incredible things in our community. And again, I do want to shout out the Vision Cathedral and Bishop Allen and First G over there. They do some incredible work within our community. And so it's amazing that you are a part of that village over there. So we appreciate them and what they do. So you're from Houston. Are you from Houston? We said Texas, but where are you from exactly? You're from Houston? Okay.
Fun fact, Solange and I went to the same elementary school.
Now, if you can find pictures of you and Solange.
I would love to. I would love to be able to find those pictures. But you can find some. We weren't in the same classroom, but we were like on the same grade level. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our interactions, from what I can vaguely recall, were like during recess and stuff. I do remember though when Destiny's Child's "No No No" single came out. Mm-hmm. My initial response was, "Oh my God, that's Solange's sister!" on the radio.
Not Beyonce.
I was so excited. I was so excited that Solange's sister was on the radio.
I love that.
I'm so excited about it.
All these years later.
All these years later.
I'm still excited. Hang on one second, guys. Make sure there's a comment there. Make sure that if you want to leave comments, that you grant StreamYard permission by going to StreamYard/Facebook. If you're unable to leave comments and you got comments and questions for AJ, make sure you go ahead and go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. And that'll allow you to publicize your comments. Just FYI. I forgot to say that earlier. I'm sorry. So, okay, Houston, Atlanta. You get here, and did you just link up with He Is Valuable? How did that connection happen?
Well, okay, so I've been kind of like a underground HIV advocate for a really long time. A lot of through my ministry work, really, I've had a lot of people talk to me about their HIV status or wanting to get HIV testing done or things like that. And so I've always kind of had this passion for like helping people navigate through the HIV epidemic, no matter where they were on the spectrum. And so in that work, I started to really link up with other people that were like professionally doing the work.
Okay.
And one of those people, who's a really close friend of mine, Alfonso Mills, he told me to link up with one of the co-founders of He Is Valuable, Richard Hutchinson. At the time, He Is Valuable was mostly online. They hadn't really made that transition into like a nonprofit organization. So I saw the He Is Valuable post, and I saw the He Is Valuable hashtag, but I didn't really know what exactly it was. So I was like, I don't know, I'm a little busy. I don't have a lot of time, but I'll at least talk to him, see what he's talking about, and I'll help out wherever I can. So fast forward, after my initial conversation with Richard, he galvanized a group of people. We went out to the cabins, and he really laid out the vision of what he wanted He Is Valuable to be.
Wow.
And in those 2 or 3 days, my mind was made up. Not only did I want to volunteer kind of with He Is Valuable, I wanted to be fully invested in the growth and establishment of this amazing organization. So it was really through just kind of connecting through community and through kind of like the grapevine of advocacy work that I found my way into He Is Valuable. But once I linked in, I got hooked and stayed hooked.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's a great segue to kind of talk about.
Hey, Aaron.
What I'll put that up there for you. It's a great segue to talk about what He Is Valuable. What's the mission? What's the statement of He Is Valuable? What do they do in the community, et cetera?
So the mission of He Is Valuable is to identify, reinforce, and celebrate the value of Black queer men in their communities. We wanted to make sure that we created a space that what we call status inclusive. So a lot of community-based organizations for Black queer men are really specifically for people either living with HIV or people who are not living with HIV. There weren't really a lot of spaces where both communities could really galvanize together. So what we wanted to be able to do was find the common spaces where Black queer men need support. We cater to people who are newly transitioning to Atlanta. We cater to people across the queer spectrum. So if you identify as gay, bi, polyamorous, pansexual, transgender, non-binary, masculine presenting, same gender loving, however you identify, we want to make sure that you're part of our community. Before COVID, we would host weekly discussion groups called Chit Chat and Chew. We host quarterly parties called Random Kickbacks. And then we also provide food assistance, clothing, navigation to healthcare resources, navigation to mental health care. And we do a lot of advocacy work too. So we work with local politicians to talk about policy platforms. We were at all of the protests that were happening over the last few months, passing out waters and making signs and things like that. And we also, make sure that we galvanize the community around voting. So we kind of are a 360 organization that really works to uplift the image and the value of Black queer men.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think what's interesting about it is that you know, a lot of people are so quick to say that there's no organizations in the community that are helping the community. There's no
Yeah.
help and or assistance, but you've just laid out literally, as you mentioned, a 360 plan of
Mhm.
areas that, you know, will assist specifically our Black gay men in our community to different areas and aspects. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I think the reason that a lot of people feel that way is because we mostly enter community through social media, and
Hmm.
social media at this point it relegates you to a silo. So you really
Mm.
only interact with even like Facebook and their friends you may know and all of that stuff. It really kind of siphons you off into a particular demographic group, and you
Hmm.
only see those people. And a lot of times, those same people may not necessarily be people you want to be in community with, because, as I believe, as people, we crave diversity, a diversity
Hmm.
of thoughts, and a diversity of ideals, and a diversity of expressions. And so, part of what we do is we use our social media platforms to cater to a wide variety of Black queer people. So
Mm.
that you can see that we're not just one thing. We're not just living with HIV. We're not just promiscuous. We're not just nerds. We're not just this. We're not just that. But all of these different facets of expression make up the Black queer male community.
Mm, that's good. You know, it's interesting too because a lot of people will say that they don't see themselves represented. I'm not, you know,
Mhm.
in terms of the interdimensional sections of the Black gay male, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's the ballroom scene, and some people are not really, you know,
Mhm.
they don't gravitate towards that, and that's perfectly
Mhm.
fine, and there's nothing wrong with that scene. But then, you know, where's the typical, you know, just the everyday man that is sitting, you know,
Right.
and going to work every day and doing the things. Like, I think it's important to know that there are, you know, vast areas and sections within our own community. So that's great. That's great that you give a light to that.
Absolutely.
Talk about a little bit what you know, in particularly some of the things that the organization has done for, and you talked about various things that you guys do within the community or points where you meet people. But what are some of the success stories within the organization? What are some of the things that you hear from patrons that say, you know, you guys really have done this for me, or you've done that for me, et cetera?
Yeah, so a lot of those things we find really come from people who are new to Atlanta, or
Okay.
newly relocated. Like they may have left and then come back and fell in
Hmm.
our community. A lot of people have been impacted by He is Valuable just from the fact that they're able to connect to a community. I think
Mm.
sometimes we underestimate the power of community.
Hmm.
You may be educated, you may have credentials, you may have a really nice resume, but if you're not really connected to community, then where is your ability to gain social capital?
Mm, that's good.
And so, one of our hallmarks is our ability to really create and cultivate community in a way that a person feels like they belong. And when they feel like they belong, they're able to activate their gifts. They're able to activate, their strengths, and they're able to network and find themselves in spaces where they may not have otherwise been able to find. So I think the success stories are really like the people who say, when I moved to Atlanta, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt isolated. And now I've been here for a year. I've been here for 2 years. And thanks to He is Valuable, I have this family. I have this community. I have this job. I have this opportunity.
Mm.
I've built this thing. Those to me are more important than like the actual numerical accolades or like awards and things like that.
Hmm.
We've presented at various national conferences, which has been really humbling. We've been afforded amazing opportunities through Gilead Sciences, AIDS United, Atlanta Pride Committee, a host of sponsors. Um,
Hmm.
but besides all of those things, to me, the most impactful thing, the thing I'm most proud of, is the fact that we've been able to connect people who would have otherwise been isolated and cut off from community.
That's great. That's really, really great. You know, here in Atlanta, and in particular, it's very interesting the dynamic, and the I'll even say the segregation that happens within the LGBTQI community, particularly with the Black and the white
Yeah.
LGBTQIA community.
Yeah.
There is a tangible
Mm-hmm.
difference and separation between the
Yeah.
two. And so,
Mm-hmm.
talk about a little bit the what I'll call the cognitive dissonance between the LGBTQ communities, particularly with the Black and the white, and what is there a way to bridge that gap? Is there a way to connect? Is there a way to work together?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So to speak to that very tangible divide, I remember very specifically about 2 years ago during Atlanta Pride, Atlanta Pride, not as opposed to Black Gay Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta Pride. I was walking down towards 10th and Piedmont, which is for those who don't know, it's kind of like the epicenter of gay Atlanta. That's where we have our rainbow crosswalk and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was walking down, going to the bars at 10th and Piedmont, and on this side of Piedmont, there's a bar that was 98% patronized by white people. There was
Mm-hmm.
a very specific, particular type of music that was being played. There was just a particular type of atmosphere, and there were like small smatterings of Black people mixed in. Directly across the street, across the intersection, there's another bar that was 98% Black,
Mm-hmm.
with a very particular type of music, very particular styles of dress, very particular cultural like expressions, with smatterings of white people. In that moment, it was that very clearly showed me how severe the racial divide is within the LGBT community in Atlanta. And I've been thinking about that moment ever since. And to answer your question, I think one, there is this socioeconomic divide.
Mm-hmm.
White people have white privilege, regardless of their sexual orientation. And that
Mm-hmm.
white privilege has afforded them with certain economic opportunities that Black people have not necessarily experienced. And
Mm-hmm.
for Black queer people or Black LGBT people, we have the additional disadvantage of being birthed from a community that does not necessarily support the LGBT ideology. So
Mm-hmm.
we are facing two levels of disadvantage where white gay people may only face one, and it does not impact them economically. So
If that, yeah.
so where our youth are being kicked out, facing homelessness, facing high HIV rates, facing bullying, suicide, mental health problems, etc., and so forth. White people, white gay people are struggling for representation on TV and to protect their marriage equality. Not that those things are not important, and not that
Mm-hmm.
there aren't white people who also experience like multiple layers of disadvantage or disparities. But the rates in which it happens within those two communities is so vast that the communities have to galvanize in different ways. We have
Yeah.
different priorities. We have different values. We have different cultural expressions, and so it's necessary for those two entities to a degree to be separate. However, it's also important for us to realize that in matters of queerness, we have the ability to come together, and we have the ability to advocate for each other, and we both possess gifts that the other needs. So I think it's okay to have separate communities and separate priorities and ideals, but I don't think that the separation should be so visceral that we can't bridge the gap in areas where we do have common interests.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. with you there. But then what are some ideals, if you have any? And if you don't have any, it's totally understandable. But what are some of the ideals in order to be able to bridge that gap? Do you think that it's a like talking to a brick wall, or do you think that there is some way that we can kind of commune together and have the conversation to where they understand both sides?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where if just in general, if Black people seek to be liberated, then it's going to take some work from their oppressor to acknowledge their role, acknowledge their complicity to the disadvantages and the oppression that Black people have experienced. And I think that same thing happens within the gay community. I think
Mm-hmm.
it first comes from this acknowledgement of where wrongdoing has occurred.
Yeah.
And in that acknowledgement, you then grow the capacity to have compassion for the actual issues that Black queer people are facing, and be willing to actually work as allies. And what ultimately happens with that is, if you solve the most severe of inequalities, if you solve healthcare disparities, if you solve economic disparities, if you solve educational disparities, et cetera, and so forth, then it becomes all the more easy to overcome civil rights legislations around
Yeah.
safety in the workplace and marriage equality and the ability to adopt children and those types of things. Those are equally important to Black people, except for the fact that we also have these things that are killing us that supersede some of those priorities. So I think the bridge, or the gap, is bridged when white leaders acknowledge that they have a responsibility to assist with bringing equality to Black people. And once
Mm-hmm.
we are on an even playing field, then we can have conversations around things that interest the both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense as well, in terms of, marriage equality. That's not a fight that we're still trying to deal with, internal battles or internal scars or issues.
I don't have enough money to put a child through school to think about adopting them.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like, I don't have generational wealth. I don't have, if I lose my job, I don't have access to quality health care.
Mhm.
Those are things that are immediately impacting Black people at a disproportionate rate
Yeah.
that have
Yeah.
to be addressed.
Yeah. Now, you talked about, in your previous comment, you talked about some of the disparities that particularly the Black LGBTQIA community goes through. Um, how do you, particularly, how does He is Valuable kind of meet them where they are in that aspect? For example, you come across a youth that has been kicked out of their home because of who they are. How do you handle, what are some of the process or the program that you will go through within He is Valuable to help them in that aspect?
So we have a program called He is Supported, that is specifically designed to help navigate people to resources that they need, in particular Black queer people. So in those situations where people have like an emergency need, or they're in a dire situation, we have a hotline that they can call, or they can
Hmm.
inbox any of our social media. And we have community mobilization and community support specialists that
Hmm.
will help them to find the resources they need. Some of the resources we have on hand,
Hmm.
other resources we can navigate them to. Um,
Wonderful.
and and part of that process is making sure that we also follow up with them. So if we do send you somewhere, we're not going to just tell you, hey, go to this address and they'll take care of you. We'll follow up and make sure that you have been taken care of. If we know in advance what the requirements are for that particular agency, like if you need any type of documentation, we'll help you get that documentation, those types of things. And a lot of the work that we do around like helping people in those situations is through through that community building aspect. So a lot of people just show up to our things, and we just happen to find out like, oh, this person is homeless, or this person doesn't have any food for the night, or this person is needs a suit for an interview, those types of things. And then we're able to let them know, hey, we have these resources available to be able to help you get to wherever it is you need to go. Now, we are still a very young organization, so a lot of things are kind of beyond our capacity at this point. However, that's where our navigation kind of kicks in, where we are able to at least we're all well connected within the community. We can help you find the place that can help you get what you need. Housing, however, is an incredible problem here in Atlanta, especially for people living with HIV. There, here in Atlanta, there have been quite a number of scandals, discrepancies, things that happen on the bureaucratic level that have left a lot of young queer Black people homeless. And so while we are working to help address that, that's something that literally every organization in the city is going to have to really put in the effort to fix that problem. Definitely.
Wow. Okay. So I think that's a great segue into the initiative that you guys are starting or have started rather, your 10 for 10. So talk about what that is and what your goal is and et cetera.
Sure. Yeah. So we launched this month a fundraiser, a 10 for 10 fundraiser in celebration of our 5-year anniversary of existence as an organization. And basically what it is we're asking everyone to donate $10 to He Is Valuable. And once you make that donation, just reach out to 10 people in your network and ask them to also make a $10 donation. And once they make a $10 donation, also ask them to reach out to 10 people in their network. Our goal is $10,000. We are about 75% to that goal. And it's been thanks to people making $10, $5, $15, $25 donations. We're not asking anyone to break the bank. We understand that we're in the middle of an economic crisis right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, but that's all the more reason why it's important for us to launch this fundraiser, is so that we can help to provide access and provide resources. We fed so many people during this pandemic, and we provided people with basic necessities, toiletries, clothing, things like that. But those things also cost money. So that's why we're launching this fundraiser, so that we can make sure that the work that we're doing can continue, so that we can continue to build the organization. We just got our first office space this year.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you, and we're really excited about it. So we've taken advantage of COVID to like go in there and like put in furniture and like get it all set up, so that when we do open, we're ready to run. We're ready to engage with the community. We're ready to bring back our Chit Chat and Chew program, and really do the work. So if you can, please donate. You can donate at heisvaluable.org/donate. Cash App, He Is Valuable 2020. Venmo, He Is Valuable 2019. Whatever you can, please support us, and share it with the people in your network so that they can also support the work that we're doing.
Awesome. That I know that having a brick and mortar space is, one of the vital things that's necessary for the work that you're doing. So congratulations. That is absolutely
because we were collecting so many like clothing donations and things like that. We were like, we don't have anywhere to
right. You got bags over here.
Yeah. So, well, who had the wagon and who got this and who got that? So thankfully we're able to centralize all of that stuff and have a space that we can call our own, that we can continue to grow our community.
Good. Yeah. Now, if someone wanted to volunteer with you guys, or if they wanted to assist in the initiative, donate something, some items or what have you, obviously, with precautions with COVID and what's going on, however, how can they do that?
Yeah. So if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate or anything like that, you can hit us up on any of our social media outlets. We are constantly in the DMs. So you can reach out to us on Facebook at He Is Valuable Inc. On Twitter at He Is Valuable, Instagram at He Is Valuable. You can DM us on any of those outlets. You can also email me directly, ajreynolds at heisvaluable.org. You can go to our website and find information on how you can donate there. And we actually have someone that we just brought on this summer who is our community mobilization coordinator. So his particular responsibility is to help us galvanize volunteers and resources and things like that. So if you just reach out to me or you reach out to any of our social media handles, we'll be happy to find some way for you to connect with us.
Awesome. Now, what are you guys doing for COVID? Like, how are you handling being, stuck at home or quarantining? Is there virtual events?
Yeah. So most of our work has been virtual. We've been hosting our weekly Chit Chat and Chew Live on Tuesday nights. On Thursday, on the fourth Thursday of every month, we have a really interesting show called Raw Talk.
Okay.
Raw meaning ready and willing, where we bring in different people from the community, different influencers, and we talk about literally any and everything, anything from politics to sex positions. So
yeah.
So that's one way that we're staying engaged, and also just really promoting a lot of our campaigns. So we have a online campaign called Him Naturally, where it's an interview series that we did where we interview different Black queer people with different body types and talked about the relationship that they had with their bodies. And throughout the course of the interview, they're stripping off different layers of their clothing, so that at the end of the interview, it's just them and their bodies, and you've gotten a full story of that person's relationship with their body. It's absolutely dope. You have to make sure you check it out.
Absolutely.
We also have our Affirmation Fridays, where we highlight different influencers and Black queer men who have made a positive impact on our community, and we have just candid one-on-one conversations with them as well. So our social media is full of content. You can find it all on He Is Valuable.
Awesome. I would definitely check that out because it's all good information.
Hey, Rich.
And I definitely am interested in sharing some of that information. So I absolutely will. I often say a lot of the times that, there was no sex ed class for the LGBTQ community. So these conversations, those types of raw conversations are necessary. They're vital. And I think that it's important that we share them and that we dispel the shunning of, those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, sex positivity is absolutely imperative when you talk about sexual health. Because one of the reasons why STIs, in particular HIV, is so prevalent, especially in our communities, is because we just do not talk about sex. And when we do talk about sex, it's from a space of shame. It's from a space of taboo. I can recall my interaction with sex growing up was opening up my sock drawer, and there were some condoms that my parent put in there. And I was
no instructions.
Nope.
That
was about it. And so, as a young Black queer man moving to a completely different state, I wish I would have had a little bit more information. I had the freedom to be able to talk about sex and sexuality in a way that is affirming, that is positive, that allows you to really be more conscious and in tune with yourself around your sexual experience.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's incredibly important. And the funny thing that I come across is that people, it makes them incredibly uncomfortable. However, it's necessary. It's necessary for the STI. Right. I mean, come on. But even on a bigger spectrum of the Black queer experience, how do you want to be touched? How do you want to be interacted with? And if your sexual experience or your sexual trauma is surrounded by trauma, or in that aspect, how do we deal with that? How do we relate to the reason why you are the sexual being that you are? So all of that is absolutely important.
So important.
And so I also commend you for that. That's great stuff. So I like to close out the interviews with a couple of questions. We're going to do a question round of just first thing that comes to your mind, and it could be as candid and raw as you want it to be.
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go. What is your favorite word?
Bitch.
Wait, with the
I don't know. Indeed is probably my favorite word. Indeed.
And you'll just say it without with indeed. Mm-hmm. What is your least favorite word?
Commode.
That's so country.
I hate the word.
Nobody calls it that anymore.
The commode. I hate it. Hate that word.
I've gotten a lot of people that say moist is their favorite word.
I don't get why that bothers people, but yeah, I know that's. I like to say it around people that cringe.
Right. Commode. What is your guilty pleasure?
Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll leave that
Next one.
Yeah. What's your Yeah, mm-hmm. We'll let you get a drink there. All right. What is your favorite curse word?
Shit.
It's shit.
Oof. Yeah.
But see, it can be used in various contexts. So you kind of have to pick and choose which one.
That is also very true. Yeah.
You got to pick which one.
So Dominic, my husband, he tells me he can tell when I'm playing a game on my phone. Because
I love it. If you were not a community advocate or in your professional career, what other career would you like to attempt?
I would have been an astronaut.
Really?
Yeah, I have always been fascinated with outer space. I literally just finished watching the Cosmos show on Disney Plus. I am absolutely enthralled with the concepts of the universe and galaxies and stars, supernovas and all that stuff. Yeah, I would definitely be an astronaut. I'm from
you could have just
NASA.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, it ties it together. But you can just sit there and watch that for hours on end.
Oh my goodness! I'm looking for another one. I just watched 13 episodes of the Cosmos.
It's interesting how people have interests of things that you're just like, I would have never conceptualized that. I would have never thought about it.
It's so important. It's so important.
It is.
I'm a touch of an environmentalist too. So like just seeing the ways in which our Earth has changed since we as humans started inhabiting, in the context of the fact that the Earth has been around for billions of years. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
I can see how that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm more of a history buff in that aspect. So I like to look at stages of history, and that would interest me in the aspect of the history point. So I get that. What's the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning?
Pick up my phone. Check my notifications. Like a typical.
It's such a bad habit. It's such a bad habit.
Yeah, I'm such a millennial.
It's such a bad habit. I'm like, okay, well, who's been in my DMs today? Like that, yeah. Like
nobody. All right.
Right. Oh well, all right. We'll try again tomorrow.
I'm gonna lay back down.
Let's see. So from a comedic perspective, you walk through the gates of heaven and God turns around and sees you for the first time. What is God's first words to you?
Wow, you're short.
I love it. While you're short. Not that I made you and I know how tall you are. It's
no, you
wow.
really are. You really are short.
One of my really good friends said, the vineyard is open. And we're gonna start with a Chardonnay. Like that. That was her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I think it's gonna be something really awkward like that to like break whatever nervousness I got. Right. It's gonna be something like completely just like nice beer, bro. Like,
yeah.
Well, thank you, God.
Thank you, God. I love it. I love that question because it's nobody knows, whatever your imagination can create in terms of your interaction with God and what that's gonna look like. I have gotten a typical answer. Well done. That's not what I asked you. I asked you. Don't be. Why? Why are you so deep?
Don't be deep.
Don't do it.
Come on now.
What is the one thing that people may not know about you?
Let's see. I was there are a lot of things that people may not know. I played trombone and marching band in high school.
Did you?
Yeah, I played trombone from the 7th grade all the way through high school.
And like, if you picked up a trombone right now, you could?
I would not know. I probably wouldn't know how to hold it. And I think if I had like a week of like straight tutorials, I probably be back at it. But like I don't remember how to read music or.
I hate that I don't have it's little pieces. I did the same thing studying voice in high school and college, and I can still little things. If I picked it up and practiced for a week, I probably could do the same thing. That's actually pretty true.
It'll just take because I don't think you ever lose that stuff.
That muscle memory.
Yeah, you just gotta back up.
Yeah. Last question.
All right.
In the beginning of this interview, I asked you who you are. Who are you becoming?
Wow, that's a deep question. I think I'm becoming more of an advocate. I think in one of my earlier responses to you, I said that a lot of my advocacy was kind of underground, behind the scenes. And I think I'm at a place now where I'm understanding the power of my voice and the power of my platform. And I am working to amplify that voice for those people who don't have a voice at all, or whose voice does not have the same level of access that my voice has. I've been afforded with some absolutely incredible opportunities. I've, met icons. I have been in rooms with dignitaries. I'm really humbled by the access that I've been given. And now I feel like because I've gained access to a lot of those spaces, it's my responsibility to speak up and advocate all the more. So I think in the future you'll be seeing more of me on the scenes versus behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And while behind the scenes is my comfort zone, I'm really confident in the fact that if I go out into the deep, God is not going to let me drown.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a perfect statement for you as a friend and as somebody who has watched you do the work in the community behind the scenes. I think it is your time. It is the space for you to be able to show who you are and allow them to see you for who you are and the impact that you do have within this community. I am always going to support you. I'm always going to, uplift you and encourage you. And I'm so grateful for the work that you do within our community. So again, thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Don't cry. Don't cry. But it has been my honor to have you on, and thank you for taking the time to be able to talk about He Is Valuable. Please go to heisvaluable.org to get all pertinent information regarding He Is Valuable. Please donate to their 10 for 10 fundraising campaign and their initiative to impact the community and for what they're doing here in the Atlanta area and the surrounding areas. Again, it has been my pleasure. For more information about He Is Valuable, check out their website. Go to Swank's YouTube page or our Facebook page for more information. Any last things you want to say,
No, just thank you so much for giving me this opportunity again. I love you so much. I'm incredibly proud of your growth and the building of your platform, and I'm looking forward to us growing together.
All right. This is another bit. I don't know where that came from. This has been another
live, so you can't cut it out.
I know, and I can't cut it out. Yeah. This has been another Swank Arts and Entertainment interview series. Again, we thank you guys for tuning in. Check us out for another one tomorrow. All right. Take care of yourselves.